to Hello Chaos, a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic minds and lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That's Orange Whip, WIP for Work in Progress. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities through hyper-local media platforms designed to inform, inspire, and create connections to help founders along their journey. We tell real, raw, unbiased founder stories and why our mantra is where aha meets oh shit. Orange Whip is an all-in-one content hub for founders with fresh and engaging stories, curated calendars, and local resource directories. We've done all the hard work for founders in their local market, so they only need to go to one trusted place to find the local information they need. My name is Jennifer Sutton. My friends and family call me JJ. I am the founder of Orange Whip, your podcast host today, and welcome. So, we record the podcast every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. So, if you check us out on LinkedIn or on Twitter, you can also comment, submit questions. We will answer them live. And then we publish on all podcast blah 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 blah. We publish on all podcast platforms on the following Sunday. This episode is sponsored by Worksby. Worksby is the gold standard in virtual administrative solutions. Their energetic leadership team is committed to solutions that are agile, collaborative, and accessible, so you can find the strategic answers you've been seeking. They are narrow and deep in the administrative professional space and help craft the next generation of servant leaders and support executives. They help founders do what they love and take all the tasks off their plate that they hate. Learn more at worksby.com, and that's WORXBEE.com. On our podcast today, we welcome Beth Bradley, founder of Dance Without Limits. Welcome to our 61st podcast episode, Beth. Thanks for joining.
Me. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited here. We're so excited to see you. So just start us out, Beth, your Dance Without Limits. Tell us about your founder entrepreneur journey. How did you start out?
Well, I've actually been dancing my entire life. So my mom put me in dance classes when I was 4 years old because I needed something to do. And I loved it and stuck with it. Have been doing it ever since. I've been teaching for 25 years. I've been in studio ownership for just over 13 years now. So yeah, it's been a huge part of my life forever. I think I always knew I was going to do this and was meant to do this and have loved every step of the journey.
And Dance Without Limits has a very specific, you say dance is for everyone. Mm-hmm. Why, what makes you unique? Why did you start Dance Without Limits, your studio, in the way that you did?
So I have to take you all the way back to
That's
my
right.
history.
We get to learn all about Beth.
That's right. Settle in. No, so much of my personal history is tied to our company's history. So it's just really important people understand where I'm coming from for me personally first. So I'm the oldest of 18 kids.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
15 of them were adopted. My parents are obviously amazing. They're from all over the nation, all over the world. A lot of them have disabilities. Some of them are severe. So they started adopting when I was 10. So from the age of 10 on, I was surrounded by kids that are, quote, different. And that was very much a part of my childhood. My upbringing continues to be very much a part of my life, impacted who I am as a person, how I approach teaching dance, how I approach starting our company, and it's now impacting how our company approaches teaching dance to kids. So when I say dance is for everyone, I'm talking about my siblings first, and before we even get to the rest of the world. So I really wanted to create a space where all kids could experience the joy of dance without any pressure.
Right. And so coming up in the dance category and and working in studios, being a part of studios, it's a really competitive industry. I mean, you've got, we've got some, is that me? That was you. Okay. We're good. Again, I told you. with it on the teacher is messing around with stuff over here. Um, Kristen's like, no, no, no. But so the dance, the dance industry, super competitive. I mean, they've got, reality shows now on cable and stuff of it's cutthroat. I mean, I know a lot of, my friends. I mean, I've got 4 kids too and 2 girls, and we just my girls were never interested in being a part of that environment. And then just also as a working mom, there's no way I could have even taken that time. Like, it's intensive, the
Yeah.
traveling, the expense, the intensity. Um, so tell me, what led you to the studio of dance is for everybody. What's the uniqueness that you bring?
We are not part of that competitive sphere. So, competition is a very big thing in kids' extracurriculars, period, whether it's travel ball,
Mhm.
sports, gymnastics, whatever it is, there is a competitive element everywhere. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. What I found though was no one was serving the kids that wanted something different.
Right.
I felt
Like my
like,
girls, I felt like my girls missed out.
yes, not every kid wants or thrives in a competitive
Mm-mm.
environment, and that's okay too. But what I was seeing through my career, and I've been in studios, for 25 years, was that these kids that were kind of on the fringe and didn't want that type of experience were left out of a lot of things.
Hmm.
And so I just increasingly was aware that we're just not making space for kids that want something different than what a typical studio is offering. Um, so I thought, well, shoot, I can do that. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
And I was in the competitive world for a long time. I took, as a choreographer, I took kids' routines to competitions. I've judged dance competitions for years. So I was very much a part of that world and saw a lot of benefit to it. I just also saw a lot of not benefit.
Of the gap.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
gap.
there's a
Yeah.
gap.
Um,
Um, Tell me, like, so what made you take the leap to go, you know what? I'm leaving this as from a working for other people. I'm going to start my own thing. What was that final, like, okay, I'm doing it?
It was kind of a mix of opportunity. I was just in the right place at the right time.
Hmm.
This is actually the second studio that I've owned. So I did own one
Okay.
studio in Hendersonville, North Carolina first.
Okay.
And for that studio, I had a business partner, and we purchased the studio from my teacher that I had growing up.
Okay.
He was ready to retire, and so it all just kind of fell in place. We were moving back to the area and thought, well, this is a great time. I think I'm a born leader. I think I've
Hmm.
always known that I I like to be in charge. So I think this was a very natural path for me. If I was going to stick to the dance world, this was going to be my next step. So that worked out great. Loved being there. Loved that studio. They're still going strong today. My husband's job caused us to move to South Carolina. So I had to sell that studio to my business partner and start all over again. And I think
Whoa.
this time around, I was just naive enough to think I could do it from scratch. I had no connections in this area. Was not connected to the dance scene in Greenville at all. We had just moved here. And I thought, yeah, sure. If I do it, kids will come, and
Yeah.
I jumped in with both feet and kind of crossed my fingers and hoped for the best.
When was that?
That was in 2016.
Okay. 2060. So what was the biggest, I guess, lesson learned or the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome to go, all right, I can do this?
I had to learn marketing really fast.
Mm,
I did not have to learn that with my first studio. I was going into an established studio. I already had relationships built there. It was my
yeah.
town. Everybody knew who I was. It was easy. So for the first time, I was faced with no one knew my name.
Mm.
No one knew anything about me. No one had ever heard of my studio. And I had to figure out how to get the word out that we were different and that you wanted to bring your kids to me.
So you even started the the studio here under the premise of dance is for everybody. We serve a gap. We're not in the competitive space.
So no, actually, my very first year, I fully planned on going the competition route.
Whoa, okay.
That's what you do. Like
Yeah.
that's the way. How else do you do business? But it was actually my daughter that changed it all. And I found this to be true time and time again with my kids. So I have 3 daughters.
Hmm.
Um,
What are
and
the ages? What are the ages?
are 18, 14, and 12.
Okay.
So my now 18-year-old was she had to have been like 9 or 10 at the time. And she was doing a solo for competition, as we did. And she was, I'll never forget it. She was sitting in my office crying one day because she was all stressed that weekend she was going to receive a high gold instead of a platinum trophy at the dance competition. And was crying and was stressed out about the color of the trophy she was going to get. And it's like a light bulb went off in my head. And I just said, this is ridiculous. Like, why, why am I doing this to my child?
Yeah.
I don't want her childhood defined by a color of trophy.
Right.
I don't want her self-worth defined by what 3 subjective judges, think about her dancing.
Right. Whether she's a 10 or 9.75. Like,
She's a kid. She's a kid.
Yeah.
So that day I decided I'm done. So walked away that day and never went back. And it ended up being the best business decision I've ever made. I ended up discovering that there's all these parents out there that want what I want, and they weren't being served. So I found that niche. Boy, we just exploded.
When was that?
That was in 2017.
So just literally a year later, you were like, okay, I'm going down this. I'm in the sea of everybody else. Now you've stepped out and go, okay, we're bringing something super unique.
Yep.
Is that?
Yeah, that's what
So
we did.
How did you get the word out?
I took a ton of online marketing classes, anything I could find. I wish I'd known about you back then. So I took Facebook, I took social media training, Facebook ads training, anything I could get my hands on that talked about marketing and getting word out to the community. I think for my business, it was super intuitive for me because I am a mom and I have 3 girls that dance. So I know who I'm speaking to. I know my audience.
Yeah.
So I knew it was important to get where they are. So I got involved in the school system, got involved with the library, the children's museum. I found Kidding Around Greenville and started advertising.
Yeah.
So I was really intentional about wherever moms are hanging out, that's where I need to be.
Yeah. We love Kidding Around Greenville. Bethany was on the podcast last week.
Oh, I love Bethany. She's so great.
She's so great.
Yes.
So what's been the most rewarding part of your journey?
Gosh, there's been a lot. First and foremost is the kids. I love my job. We serve over 650 kids a week now.
In just one location, right?
One location. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
So, we have almost 700 kids coming and getting to experience dance every week. And it just brings me so much joy. We have a very diverse population at our studio. We have a lot of students that have disabilities and are dancing in our typical main dance classes. They're mainstreamed in. So the joy that brings to our studio space, the joy of the families in the lobby, the friendships that are being made. I love to walk through the space and watch it happening. When you start a business, you're just not sure it's going to work. Like you kind of hope. So to walk through and watch the impact on the lives around me has just been phenomenal.
It's like when you see the vision and you're, in the mission and you're like, this is what our value is. And then you see it come to life. It is pretty amazing. It feels really good.
Yes,
what do you think has surprised you the most? Like throughout being a founder, now running your second kind of run in studio, what surprised you the most?
That's a hard question. I think I have been surprised both at my lack of business knowledge. I think, and that might be true for every founder.
I think that's true for every founder, but also it's funny to hear you say that just because of the journey I've been on with you as a business coach. I would have never described you that way.
Well, that's because I've had to learn. I've had to learn a whole lot. And I think that I think I've been the most surprised that I actually really enjoy it. I come from a long line or a family of entrepreneurs. My family is all in the car business. And as growing up, I was like, I'm never going to get into the car business. Like, it's so terrible. It's just all business all the time. They're like in suits. Like, nah, I'm not doing it.
Right. Suits or golf shirts, right?
Suits
It's
are
like,
gone. Right. They're talking about like car parts, and I was like, I'm out.
yeah,
Um, But I've been pleasantly surprised at how much I love learning business and what it is to run a business. I actually really enjoy learning about financials. Who
mm,
knew? I actually enjoy that piece. I love marketing. There's so many pieces to my job that have nothing to do with dance, and I didn't know how to do any of it. And I've just really enjoyed learning it along the way. Um,
right.
so ironically, I've ended up very similar to my family. I'm doing the same things, just in dance realm instead of car realm. Um,
And
so yeah.
yeah. And you surround, because I know you define yourself as a creative person, like
Yes.
that creative mindset, which usually, you know, financial and operations is not the bag, that it is. But so you've
Yeah.
embraced that. What would have been your resources? Like, where did you go? Is it just self-learning? How have you embraced like learning about financials and learning about the operations?
So I started out looking for a small business coach. So I knew I had knowledge gaps and I was not going to be able to succeed if I didn't fix it.
What
Um,
so pause on that.
yeah.
What was that initial, like you're like, all right, what was the gap that you said, I need to go find somebody? What was that gap that you had recognized?
It was in that first year when I realized I've got to pull this whole thing up from the ground by myself.
Ah,
That's when I was like, I need help. And I've always had the mindset that I will pay for help as much as I need it.
mm,
To me, the investment is always worth it. And I know I can't take the next step forward until I've invested in getting myself there.
yeah, so
Um,
smart.
yeah, so I was willing to invest financially early on to get
Mm,
the help I needed. So again, I knew I had to get students in the door and I was going to pay whatever I had to pay to be able to learn how to make that happen
okay.
because our revenue is directly related to number of students.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
So
so
so you got a business coach?
I got a business coach. He was wonderful. He worked with me financially for a while until I could, afford to fully pay him for his services.
Mm,
I still work with him today. He's fantastic. And then I started seeking out resources specifically for dance studio owners
okay.
because the industry is very specific.
Mm,
So I joined, it's called the Dance Studio Owners Association Inner Circle. It's a mastermind for dance studio owners. And so we meet every week on Zoom. We have retreats 4 times a year. And we're learning together, how to do the business side of a dance studio. It's a lot of support. I've made a ton of friends through that organization because owning a business is lonely.
yeah.
Uh, that's I can't be friends with my employees. I can't be friends with my customers. Who's left? Uh, so I've made a lot of other studio owner friends. It's great to be able to commiserate and talk through all the challenges specific to our industry.
Mm,
So yeah, I've used the chamber. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce in Greenville. So I just joined their Minority Business Accelerator program this year. So that's been a huge resource for me. So I just, I'm big about finding the local resources that I need
right.
to push us forward and teach me all the
Yeah,
things.
you had your final presentation last week.
I
Your
did.
final pitch.
Final pitch. It's done. Shoo.
That's right. You did great. You
Oh,
had you opened up and you did a fantastic job. That was
thanks.
um what was the outcome? So you had a business coach from early on that you still tap into and rely on.
Yep.
What was the most rewarding part of the MBA, the Minority Business Accelerator? Like what did you get the most out of that?
I got a more generalized business education. So particularly around financials, around contracting, I knew nothing about, government contracting
Mm,
and those kind of things had never even crossed my mind. It's so foreign to me to think in those terms. So it was a lot more business education.
mm,
And then of course, connecting with other local business owners has been phenomenal. So we're all in the same boat, whether we're, making cupcakes or doing
that's right.
landscaping or teaching dance.
You feel like you're part of a community. That's
Yeah.
what, because I'm a graduate of the same program from 2018. I was in that cohort, and that was my biggest aha kind of because I was a part of my industry associations nationally, talking with other agency owners, but it's still nothing compares to being able to walk down, go to a meeting, go grab coffee to somebody that's in the local community so you don't feel so alone.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's only at the top. We need each other.
We do. We need to lean on each other.
Yes.
So tell us about your biggest like, oh shit moment.
I distinctly remember it. I was
Most of us do, right? We always like
it was tax time,
oh,
and I was at my accountant's, and she was so it was her second year. So in April of, I guess this would have been 2017.
Mm.
And the first, what is it? I think they say 2 to 5 years, you basically make no money.
Right.
So we were right in the middle of that, making no money. And we had kind of hit the bottom. Like I had used all of my, resources that I had, all of my funds. Things were either going to have to shift or I was going to have to reevaluate.
Right.
And she told me, she said, well, it can't get worse than this. So it's got to get better.
You've hit the floor.
This is it. And I said, okay. And I said this, but I told her, I've always had faith that, I've been called to this. And that it was, we were just kind of seeing it through the birth stages and we could make it through and get through this. And so I told her, I said, I just have faith that this is the bottom and we're going to shift and turn up from here. And sure enough, we did that. Next year we were profitable and then exploded from there on out. So yeah, that was kind of the bottom for us.
Did you do anything specific? Was there anything that you were like, I got to pivot, or was it just we're staying true to this? We've just got to put more digital marketing behind this. Like, what was there anything that you did specifically to go? Okay, yeah, either I gotta keep this going because I have faith that it's gonna, keep going, or did it ever cross your mind of, or I'm gonna have to fold?
Yeah, I mean, folding was out there. If this doesn't work, we just can't sustain it. There wasn't anything to pivot on, though. I knew we were doing the right thing. We were so clear about our vision and our mission, and people were starting to buy in. I didn't want to pivot to anything typical, so I knew this could work. So really, I just put my head down, got to work. Busted my hump and got everywhere that I could. I had, anything I could do to get our name out there, I did. And yeah, it worked.
It all paid off. Yeah.
It all paid off. Yeah.
So if you could hit rewind on anything, is there anything you would do differently?
Yes, I would. So you mentioned I'm a creative.
Yeah.
I had no interest in SOPs. So I didn't want to talk about systems, processes, documenting anything.
And what do we learn?
We learned we have to do it. I wish I had done that from the very beginning, because what happened was, all I did was focus on marketing for that first year. That was it.
Right.
So I was driving students in the door and it was working, but our systems were not under control.
Yeah.
So then we were in this state of chaos. And we've been struggling with it ever since. We're getting a handle on it and we keep working on it. But I think if I had my SOPs in place from the very beginning, it would have felt less chaotic when we so quickly.
Because it's just about organizing. It is kind of organizing the crazy, embracing that.
Yes.
And as we learn through these courses and these communities that we're a part of, a lot of even large companies don't have their shit buttoned up and they don't have their systems and processes. So us as small businesses, I would call growth companies that really want to scale and grow. Getting the processes written, getting the systems, in place to be able to be more efficient. But I think one thing that I think you and I have talked about before is also as doing what is the process, what is the system. It's also defining the people to perform those processes and execute on the systems. And you mentioned something of what was the phrase you used of build for the task, not the personnel. What was it? Was in
yeah.
We talked about that of the lessons learned of hiring people to perform the task, not building the task around the person.
Right.
Make everything non-personality driven.
Yes, or personality dependent.
Or personality that was the phrase. I was trying to,
That's
like, remember. I was like, "You had such a great way of phrasing that."
Yes, so that was not me, that was all Wendell from the MBA program. I just wrote it down, I was
You
like,
did.
"That's so good."
Great.
Yes, I don't wanna ever be personality dependent. I'm trying to build something bigger than me and that outlasts me, or outlasts any one of my employees. So in
Right.
order to do that, of course, we have to have systems documented and processes in place that aren't dependent on any one person in our organization. So that's been, I wish I had known that from the beginning.
Yeah.
Or I feel like I knew it intuitively, I just didn't do the work.
Right, and that's what I find too, because, like, we were taught that, in my corporate, an agency, a bigger agency, it was, "No, no, no, this is the job description. We need to find the best person to do that job description, and not find a job description and write it around a certain person," which I
Yeah,
think, and even when I started the company, it was you know that intuitively, but then sometimes you just kinda get out of control, and it's like, we gotta take a step back. We gotta be, reduce the crazy.
yeah.
Um,
And I love my people, I
yeah,
love my team. So as much as possible, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do, whatever you want. And however I can help you succeed, I'm thrilled to do. So learning
right.
to curb that with what's best for the company is a learning curve for me and something I still work on. I want to come alongside everybody, of course, but you have to do it with the good of the company in mind.
That's right. So where do you feel like you have, I don't wanna say, well, like, what keeps you up at night? Like, where do you feel like you still struggle or you get angst over?
I think we're on the cusp of another growth phase. And every time we hit a growth phase, it's pushing me into the unknown for me.
Hmm.
So I'm entering a new arena that I don't know. Um, and that is terrifying for me
Because
because I like it's
you're
all
trying to,
emotions.
because that's in, like, scaling the business of, "Look,
Yes,
we're growing out of the studio that we have. Where do we go?" Because really, I mean, no pun intended on your name, but you're also you have created a company that has no limits.
right,
I mean, you're
right,
not really geographic bound.
right.
So
Yes. So we want to expand to a second location. We need to expand to a second location because we're reaching capacity where we are. And I've never done that before. I
mm,
don't know how to manage two locations. I know SOPs are the key, um, but I've never developed a management tier in my team. So these are all unknowns to me. So I think just taking those next steps, I want to make sure that I do it well. I never want my team to feel like they're dumped on because of my lack of knowledge.
mm,
So it's really important to me that I have a plan and I've thought through where we're headed and who's going to do what so that they aren't left with the mess of chaos
right.
because I didn't do my job. So yeah, that's what keeps me up is just not knowing how to do the next thing, but I'm going to do it. So I'll just figure it out.
That's right. Well, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What drives you?
The kids
The
always.
kids.
I love the shop. I don't teach much anymore. It's really hard to teach and run a business.
Mhm.
So I have come out of the teaching for the most part. And that's been mostly good. But being able to be in the studio, being around these kids, seeing the joy that they have, seeing the good that we do, hearing the stories from the parents. We have so many stories from parents of
Mm.
kids that, started out terrified to even walk in the room. And by the end of the year, they're up on a stage in front of thousands of people, doing their little dance. And um, yeah,
With their cute little costumes.
I know with all their sparkles and tiaras, best job ever.
Oh, what advice so you're in a community of other studio owners. What
Mhm.
advice do you give them or do you add, and, what do you guys talk about?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice to everybody is always to be willing to pay for help.
Mm,
I think we get in our own way when we start thinking about investment.
mm,
Um, and I think you
that's
are
a good
never
point.
going to
Yeah.
regret investing in yourself, whether it's your knowledge, whether it's your time. My time is valuable. My knowledge is valuable and it's worth paying for. So being willing to kind of loosen up enough to invest in those things has freed me up to push us forward. Um, and I think that's been the biggest caveat for me is being willing to hire the help that I need to get us to the next level. So I just encourage people to not get so hung up on the budget and the financial investment, that they don't take the leap to get the help that they need.
Right. And to chime in on that too, I mean, I think we there are founders and entrepreneurs that get afraid, of looking at money maybe a little bit differently because you
Right.
don't look at it the same. Your business finances is the same. They're not the same as your personal.
Mm-mm.
And to kind of view that differently. But the other thing is, I think we hear this a lot in the entrepreneur community is also not just don't be afraid to seek help, invest in help, whether it's coaching or, getting people on your team to, take you to the next level, but to not be afraid to ask for help.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think that is the biggest hurdle that we see of it's a mental barrier
Hmm.
of, the imposter syndrome stuff comes up of if I seek help, then that makes it sound like I don't know what I'm doing. And I think the more that we keep having conversations with founders, we hear the repeat of, hey, when I start like, everybody's like me, nobody has the answers. We're all intimidated or we're all seeking a lot. Like we all have the same questions.
Yes.
We've all kind of entered in the similar struggles. They might be a little bit more specific in different industries, but I think we all kind of have this um, very similar mindset and very similar barriers of just don't be afraid. And I think that's the number one thing I think what stops people from asking help. It might not be I don't have the money, but it's the oof, I don't want to look like I don't know.
Don't know. Right.
Yeah.
What I've found is the people that do have the knowledge are more than willing to help. Like they're thrilled to help.
Right.
The second you ask, they're like, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you everything I know."
Right.
So I have
Yeah.
never ever been made to feel like I'm, dumb or not with it, or, when you put yourself out there, people will respond positively. So yeah, you don't have to be afraid.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um, well, okay, so you're creative and you're dealing, now you're kind of working on your business versus being the in the studio teaching. How do you have any daily routines or disciplines or anything to like keep you uh driven and steady and focused to not want to go, you know what, I don't want to do the this stuff. Let me just go back in the studio and play. Or to keep you, like I said, you're a creative mind. So
Right.
how do you keep that, are there any routines that you do?
Yeah. So I use time blocking, which has really saved my sanity.
Talk
Um,
about time blocking. Describe what that is.
Yeah, so every Sunday night, and I do like a schedule. I've always loved a good schedule, so I like to know what's coming. So every Sunday night, I sit down with my planner. I make my to-do list of things that need to be done that week, and then I go to my calendar and I put those things in my calendar. So even if it's just like I'll put in that I have to pick my kids up from school because I have
Mhm.
forgotten that before. So that's in my calendar at 3 o'clock.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, go pick up the kids. So I schedule the work that needs to be done during the week on
Mhm.
my calendar. And then that is what keeps me on track throughout the week. I'm the type of person that when I have a to-do list, I like to knock it all out in one day, which is a problem because then I'm not doing anything else that may have to be done that day. And I'm not giving myself any margin.
Right.
Um, so by scheduling things, if I know I'm going to work on lesson planning, well, I'm not going to do that until Wednesday morning, that I'm not looking at lesson plans on Monday
Yeah.
because that's scheduled for Wednesday morning. So it allows me to use my time more strategically.
Right.
It allows me to do focused work. This is my lesson planning time, so I'm not doing anything else right now. So that has helped me out really more than anything else, I would say, is just being really strategic about my calendar, putting things in the calendar. And then I also try to leave white space in my calendar because I am a creative. I don't want to do task after task after task all day
Right.
long.
8 hours of lesson planning.
No, thanks. That's terrible. So I have buffer time in there where there's just nothing on the calendar. So I can go, roam around the lobby and talk to the
Mm.
moms or, go hang out with my staff or take somebody to lunch or whatever. So, I'm kind of balancing that, loading up my schedule with the things that have to be done with leaving white space for, fun
Does
stuff.
your does your team know your calendar blocking strategy? I mean, did they know, hey, on Wednesday she's doing lesson planning, so we need to leave her with that. Have you disseminated that downstream to everybody?
They know I do it. I am not really good yet at drawing those hard lines, and I need to be better. Like, no, this is my time to work on the financials. I cannot help you right now.
Right.
So that's something that I want to be working on, is kind of letting them know, I'm unavailable for these times. I'm a very collaborative person, and we have a very collaborative team. So I have a hard time sometimes being like, I
I
can't,
can't talk to you right now. Yeah. Yeah.
I got
Go ahead.
financials to do.
I'm focused.
That's right.
Well, what do you do on your free time? I mean, it's, you're in the creative space, and I love to come and watch the kid. I've been in your studio. It's fun to watch all the
Yeah.
kids. But what do you do outside of that?
We're pretty busy. I've got 3 girls. They all dance. My youngest is also into sports, so she loves soccer. So you can find us at a bunch of soccer games. My kids are pretty, when you're in mom life, you just go from kid thing to kid thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids do lots of orchestra and theater and all kinds of things. I love to be outside, so I love to hike. I love to be in the mountains. I'm from the mountains. That's home to me. So my husband and I love to get outside as much as possible, ride bikes, go hiking, do anything outside. And then I'm an avid reader. I love to read. So I'll take any time I can get a good book and, some peace and quiet.
What's your favorite genre?
I really love historical fiction.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I love it. That's what I have either business books, but if I have to do, like
Yeah.
I feel like we have to read whatever. But yeah, historical fiction is my favorite.
I always have a business book and the book I actually want to read on my bedside table.
And I tap into the one that I want to read the most. If you could change 2 things about your company today, what would you change and why?
I would have a full SOP documented
Just
and ready to roll. I really want to have a magic wand and make it appear.
Yeah.
And that would be phenomenal. I would love that. And then really the other thing we need to change, I just need more space. We're just running out of space. So our classes are full, which is amazing. Our lobby is insanity with all the families and siblings and babies crawling everywhere. And so I would love more room.
Do you think you'll build and design your own studio, or are you going to go in and kind of lease a space and kind of transform it?
I don't know. My big vision for us is to have multiple locations across the upstate. So it will all depend on the financials, honestly. We're more profitable right now renting smaller studios, but having multiples of them than to have one giant location.
Okay.
So that's kind of my first goal. As we grow, I'd love to end up purchasing facilities for us to use. And then, yes, I would love to build it out and make it what I actually,
like your vision.
Yes. Yes.
Because, I didn't realize you going through your studio of the requirements of like the flooring and how much like the specifics of, I thought it was just, a wood floor maybe with, some pad, but you were like, no, there's like 6 layers in there that are very.
Yes, there's raised flooring. We got to protect these kids and their joints, So the flooring's a lot, and then there's mirrors and bars and sound systems and all the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
So what do you want your company, like if you look 3 years from now, what does it look like?
It looks like 2 locations.
Okay.
I really would like to have a second location running. I would love both of those locations to be full of happy kids. One thing I also love about my job is I'm able to offer dancers and artists full-time positions in the arts, which is, pretty rare. So my teachers have options to teach dance full-time. They don't have to go get, a job at Starbucks to supplement their teaching salary.
Right.
Which has been great. It's a great opportunity for people in the community that just want to, have a career in the arts.
Right.
So with those 2 locations, I'm able to offer more of that. So there's more perks for my my employees as well, and people that want to come in. I'd love to have a central office that's kind of operating both locations. So I'll need an administrative office and management team, to oversee all of the things that go
All
into
the things.
operations.
Get you a number 2.
Yes, I mean, I have a number 2 now. She's amazing, but I feel like I need 4 number 2s.
You need a number 2 to manage all the other number 2s.
Yes. Correct.
The 2, 3s, and 4s and
Yes.
20s.
Yes. I need all the people.
Oh,
And that's the thing with our industry. It's not just me that's a creative. Every one of my employees is a creative.
yeah.
So yeah, I need somebody to come in and handle that.
How do you keep them focused?
It's gonna.
What do you do is go, hey, work on an SOP.
I do, and I give them a deadline. This has to be done by Friday. It has to be done, and they're like, "Fine."
All right, this will make me focus for a minute.
That's right. Oh, they're so funny. I really and truly, it's all about our mission and our vision. When they start to wander off, it always comes back to, does this serve our purpose here? And if it doesn't, we're not doing it.
Right. Have you found that it's easier? Is it easier or harder to recruit in the dance and arts community for teachers with your mission? That the fact that you are different than other studios.
It's both. It's kind of, I see a mix of both. It's easier in the sense that you know what you're getting with us. I'm very clear about what we do, where we're headed, what our goals are. It's difficult in that some teachers, particularly those that are just starting out in their careers, they want to work with advanced students, which is totally understandable. You want to be able to say, this child that's performing with,
they were platinum trophy winners.
Right. And I taught them that, so there can be some ego sometimes involved in teaching. And I had to learn to let that go. That this was not about me, this was about these kids and the way they're feeling. And the kids that are talented are equally valuable, and should also feel amazing. But I look for teachers who see the value in the kid that maybe has no talent or very little talent, or is going to dance for a year and then go do soccer. So it's a different kind of teaching philosophy. So it helps me kind of weed out, we're very clear about what we do. So people either are on board or they're not, which is great. And we need both types of teachers in our industry. So I'm certainly not anti either one.
Right.
But it's just a different, I don't know, we have a different teaching philosophy.
Yeah. Well, you're trying to make it about all about the child, no matter what the ability is.
Right.
Or the passion level.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a different way of teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then something else I want to know, when you got all your marketing, expertise and all your certifications and stuff, what did you find just learning that on your own? What was the most, I guess, challenging aspect to get your, aspect around marketing and media? And then what was the most fascinating, or those kind of aha moments of, oh, that worked?
I think Facebook ads were both of those things. They were the most frustrating and challenging.
Meta.
And every time I got a handle on it, they would change it. They're still doing that.
They're still doing that. That's right. Every day they change the rules.
But before opening the studio, I had never even seen that world. I'd never seen Ads Manager. I didn't know anything about any of that. So
and the terms and all that.
Yeah. The way, everything was foreign to me. So learning that was fun and challenging, and also super rewarding. Early on, those Facebook ads were really valuable for us. I think advertising partners have been really important for me. So kidding around. Partnering with local community has been really important for us, and that's been super rewarding as well. But yeah, there was just a big learning curve. I had to learn about SEO and Google My Business.
And what's the difference between SEO and SEM? And
yeah, and again, I'm it's all a foreign language, and I've never.
And it changes all the time.
Yes. But that I genuinely enjoyed learning it. To me, marketing is very intuitive. I'm just talking to the people that are like me,
Right.
So if I can get in their head, I really enjoy figuring out how to draw them in.
Right.
I think that's really fun. And I'm discovering that it kind of meets a creative need of mine. I'm not choreographing anymore like
Right.
I was. I'm not in the classroom as much, but I'm creating through my marketing.
Right. You're
Um,
communicating your value.
yes. And I'm
Yeah.
telling stories either way.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Um, well, my goodness, we are out of time, Beth. Can you
It's
believe it?
all
This
okay.
goes by so fast. And I know I say this every week. Kristen's like, yes, you do. I'm always amazed at how fast these things go. I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. So thanks for hanging out with me, Beth. I appreciate it. It's our 61st episode. We're rocking it every week. And so tell people where they can find you, they can find Dance Without Limits. How do you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can check out our website at dancewithoutlimits.co. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. We have not embraced TikTok yet, but my staff keep telling me I need to get on it. So yeah, we're in all the places. Just look us up, Dance Without Limits in Greenville, South Carolina.
I love it. For everyone listening or watching us, thank you for joining us live. This podcast episode will be published this coming Sunday and available on all podcast platforms. So please subscribe to Hello Chaos, like, comment, share this great content. Help us grow build a more connected entrepreneurial community and founder community. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We are 100% free content. It's just an email to join the community. It's a one-stop content hub just for founders, delivered in a weekly email every Sunday. We are currently in 3 areas in South Carolina, the Upstate, Midlands, and Low Country, with goals to expand in 30 markets in 5 years. This month's edition is on the subject of the CEO mindset and the challenges of shifting from working in the business to working on the business. Next month, we will be featuring women business enterprises and minority business enterprises and founders in our editions. So go to orangewhip.com, and that's orangewip.com. Find your city edition and enjoy. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us, head over to orangewhip.com or send an email to hello@orangewhip.com. And while you are there, go ahead and subscribe. Let's give a huge shout out to our podcast sponsor, Worksby. Worksby is the gold standard in virtual administrative solutions. Worksby puts the science at work with a data-driven method for matching up your needs to the best admin professionals. So all those founders and entrepreneurs that are struggling with keeping up with their inbox, keeping up with some of the task management, maybe even personal like connections for mom founders, if you need somebody to help with like making doing paperwork or signing up for things around your school activities and your kids' activities, reach out to Worksby. They can find a virtual administrative professional that can help you take all the crap stuff off your plate so that you can focus on the things that you enjoy and keep you more productive. So learn more at worksby.com. That's WORXBEE.com. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to Hello Chaos. It is where aha meets oh shit. I am your host, Jennifer Sutton. We will see you again next week.